Okay, a friend of mine has emailed me and said to me that he's got a problem, and I'm going to do my best to solve that problem in this video today. And the problem is, he wants to have honest connections with women. He wants to build honest relationships, and these are his words, not mine. He says he doesn't want to use the pick-up stuff that's on the internet. He doesn't want to be fake. He doesn't want to wear a mask. He doesn't want to use lines and tricks and build disingenuine connections with women when he goes out. He really wants to build an honest, intimate relationship. He said he wants to get to know a woman. He wants to get to know her as a person, and he also wants to get to know himself in the process, which makes sense. And he also said he wants to spread this in every aspect of his life. So he said to me, I don't just want to overcome this fear in the first 10 seconds of being able to go up to a woman that I see in a social situation that I like and be able to start a conversation with her and be able to be honest with her and have a great connection. He said he wants to have this in all his relationships, or as many of his relationships as he can, right? And I love this because maybe I'm biased, but I agree with him because that's what I wanted many years ago. I didn't want to use the stuff that was on the internet or the mainstream. A lot of men use lines and tricks in nightclubs, on the street, or wherever. That wasn't right for me. I didn't want to do that, so I didn't do it, and I succeeded in finding my own way. So I'm going to share it today in this video. It's not easy to share these things through a video. It's a lot easier for me to explain in person, but we'll do the best that we can today. Subscribe to this channel, by the way, if you're new and you want to conquer your fears in any aspect of life. This channel is about becoming fearless, so just hit subscribe. You can also follow me on my Instagram page. It's getting popular. I give tips and advice. So I always know anyone watching this video can do this because I was so shy with women and anxious, and I couldn't get myself to start conversations, even when girls were interested in me in parties. Sometimes in public, a girl would smile at me at a bus stop, or I couldn't do anything. So much fear and anxiety. I wanted to do it, but something in me wouldn't allow me to do it. There was a lot of resistance. So we'll go into what the human fears are, what's holding you back. So obviously what's holding you back is the emotions of fear. Psychological fear. The psychological aspect is where you worry about a bad outcome happening. So you worry that if you go over and start a conversation with a girl that you like in any social situation, that you might embarrass yourself. You might say something that could make you look stupid, or you might not be able to get your words out. That was probably my biggest fear. I suppose for a lot of men, I was scared that I would start stuttering, because that did happen to me in all kinds of social situations throughout my life when I was younger, and I had very bad anxiety. So you worry that you might freeze up. She's going to see that, she's going to judge you, and that's going to be excruciatingly painful and emotionally awkward. Another fear is that you walk over and she rejects you straight away and says, I don't like you, don't talk to me, or I have a boyfriend, or she shouts at you, or she's mean to you. That's another natural human fear that guys will have. Another fear is that you'll be trapped in the conversation, that you might start the conversation, the girl will actually be friendly to you, she'll actually like you, she'll engage, but then you'll get awkward and you'll feel claustrophobic. The feeling will be that you won't be able to leave when it gets awkward. So I think with all the fears that us men have with talking to a woman that we're attracted to and wanting to build an honest connection, just be ourselves, just be the same way we would with our friend or anyone that we're comfortable with. We want to feel comfortable in our own skin. Now, the fears of being rejected and hurt, of course, but I think the biggest fear for men is getting awkward. Because when you get awkward, it's awkward, it doesn't feel nice. You know, the other person, there's awkwardness between two people. Or if the girl you're speaking to is comfortable and confident, it makes you feel even more awkward, less of a person, more embarrassed, more ashamed, because she's comfortable and relaxed and able to talk to you, but you're not comfortable in your own skin. So there's shame, there's embarrassment, there's social fear, there's fears of being judged. There's fears of being misrepresented. That was a fear I had, that the girl, she will misunderstand me as a person. She won't see me the way my friends and family do, in the way that I see myself. She won't get to see the good side of me, because she'll think I'm this person when I'm not this person, if that makes sense. So there's that as well. There's also the fear that you won't be able to come up with anything interesting to say. So you might go over and start a conversation. Again, a woman's friendly, she's willing, she's open, but you just won't be able to come up with an interesting thing to say, and then you're going to be boring. The fear of a girl saying, well, I met this guy and he was really boring. So there's a lot of inner demons that we have before we even go over and start a conversation with a woman, which is what paralyzes so many men and makes them physically not able to go up and speak to a girl. So something on a practical level, on many levels, which is easy when you think about it, you just got to go over and use your mouth and speak. But psychologically, it's terrifying for men, and I know, because I used to be a full-time dating and relationship expert and pretty much a social coach, someone who had all these fears myself. So I remember working with a guy who had served in the army, and this is what he said to me: I've been in the army, Johnny, and I'm more scared to go and speak to a girl. I'm terrified. So it really is a terrifying fear for a lot of men, and some people don't realize how fearful it is for a lot of men, especially men who haven't managed to get over it and practice it. So one thing I'm going to say is, well, many things is, it's normal to have these fears, that you wouldn't be a man, you wouldn't be human, that I have these fears, everyone does, even guys that you think don't have it. It's part of being a human being to have social fear, especially if you're going to start a conversation with a girl that you like and you're attracted to, because there's a fear of loss. You're putting your emotions on the line. So you have to be compassionate. You have to understand, the reasons as to why you have these feelings, and try your hardest not to judge yourself, because that's another level of suffering that men put on themselves, which isn't necessary once you're really aware. Right, so going to give you some tools today. I'm confident they can help you. They've helped me to get over this. Now, first things first, you have to realize we do blow things out of proportion as men. A girl is a human being, a person. I know this is, our mum's a woman, our auntie's a woman, our female friends are a woman, our previous girlfriend. It's a human being. Women are the same as men. They've got feelings, they've got fears, they've got emotions, they've got empathy. So you've got to try and put that into perspective, that you're not going up and speaking to someone who, doesn't have emotions. So that's helpful to realize that. But you also need to realize as well, most of the fears that we have in our head, they won't come true, right? Most of them won't come true. We have worse horror stories in our head that the conversation is going to be a disaster, that it's going to be something like on the movies where the guy gets awkward, everyone's laughing, and he drops he drops an apple pie all over himself because there's a girl he's talking to, he's nervous. It's not going to be like that. That's an exaggeration. These are fictional films. It's unlikely. Another thing you've got to realize, worst case scenario, if it did get awkward, you won't die, thankfully. No one dies from being socially awkward. I've been in thousands of social situations where I got awkward or the other person got awkward, and life goes on. So it's putting things into perspective, and if a girl doesn't want to talk to you, you have to respect that, that's fine, and not let that crush you. But what a lot of guys don't realize is, if you are honest and you are genuine, which I've always encouraged and I always practice myself, you've really got nothing to worry about, because I found honesty is the best policy. When you're not hiding anything and you're genuine, you're respectful and you're confident and you're in touch with your emotions when you speak to a woman, then it usually will work out. Most times girls are friendly. I've been in thousands of social interactions with strangers in public, and I've got to say probably 90% of the time people are friendly. If you're friendly to other people, when you're speaking to a girl, it's likely she'll be friendly to you and she will appreciate your courage for going over. But how do you actually get yourself to do it? That's another question. You've got to make a decision. Most guys have already made a decision that they're not going to do it. And you can make that decision right now. I'll explain what I mean by that, the psychology. If you think about it, right? Before I set this camera up and started doing the video, I made a decision to do this video. So I kind of already made the video before I made it. But if I didn't make the decision and I was worrying about how the video comes out, people won't like it or they will like it or whatever, or I won't be able to speak properly, all that kind, I wouldn't make the video. So the video was made before I made it. I made a decision. Most guys don't make that decision because they allow fear to talk them out of making that decision. So you've got to make a decision that you are going to go over and conduct yourself in the best way you can and speak to a girl or a woman that you like in any social situation. You have to make that decision because the body does follow the mind. The same way you make a decision to get up in the morning, make breakfast. We may not think of it as the same, but it is the same. Different situation, yeah. And there's fear on the line because you fear of loss of someone you're attracted to and you don't want to be turned down and you don't want to misrepresent yourself. But you have to make a decision. And if you make that decision, your body will follow. And I learnt this also, same experience. It's different actually, obviously. But when I used to go and do sparring in the boxing ring, for many years, I made the decision, I'm not going to do it, and I didn't do it. I was too frightened of sparring and fighting in case I got beaten up, humiliated. It frightened me to death. But there came a point in my life where I made the decision, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go in and be an amateur boxer, and I did it. And it was uncomfortable. It was tough at first, got easier. So it will get easier through practice. Make a decision, first tip. Second tip is, you have to work through the awkward feelings. Let me just put it straight and honest with everyone. Especially this can help men and women, everyone. When you go up to a stranger that you've never met before, in most cases, and you want to start a conversation with that person and show your interest or your curiosity, get to know them, there's always going to be awkward feelings running through your body inside. For most part, unless you've been practicing for years and years, even then you're still going to get it. You have to accept that. It's part of being human, it's part of being vulnerable, especially if you want to build honest relationships like you said and you don't want to use tricks and lines and wear a mask. If you use all that stuff, and I don't recommend it, I don't live like that, then you're not going to be you. You're going to be building fake relationships with people. You're not showing yourself. What's the point? You're just being fake. So when you're putting yourself on the line, there is going to be emotions coming up inside. And it will be the same a lot of times. There's quite a lot of women that followed my channel over the years, or my other YouTube channel, and they go out and they talk to men, or they face their men and women both got social fears. So you got to accept that's part of the deal. And if you don't work through those emotions and those fears, then you're not going to meet someone, or it might be a long time. You're not going to get over this social fear, because it is a social fear. So you got to practice it. You got to make that commitment. You got to accept that these feelings are normal. They're not pleasant, but you got to fight through these feelings, and then you get to the other side. Now, eventually, the feelings pass, and then you're in a full-blown conversation. So it's really about getting out of your head, making a commitment to go over and speak to a girl, working through the emotions that are uncomfortable and unpleasant until these unpleasant emotions pass. And then you get the good emotions, or you just feel that nice feeling of peace and you feel relaxed. So it's an analogy, and it's a real practical methodology that men and women can use to speak to one another or speak to anyone in any, like you said, it's not for you just about getting over your anxieties and fears of building honest connections with women. You want to do this with people as well. So you can do it at events. And like I said, I'm so confident everyone can do this because I did it, and I had so much anxiety and fear. I couldn't do these videos years ago. So you can use this same thing for making a YouTube video. It's so valuable. And I always think you can't go wrong. Look, at the end of the day, if you're honest and you're genuine and sincere, which takes so much courage, and whatever other people say, that's their problem. If they're going to judge you for that, I wouldn't care. Because you can't beat the truth when you're being honest. If someone doesn't accept you and like you, then you'll still feel good because you was honest with yourself. Like you said earlier, this is about also you getting to know yourself, which makes sense. But 9 times out of 10, I found, and I don't listen to negative media, I know from my experience, women love it when men are genuine and they're honest and sincere. They don't see that as a weakness, and they reciprocate that, people in general, because it takes a lot of courage. Anyone can be fake and put on a mask or act like someone else to protect your own emotions from getting hurt. You can do that on YouTube, you can do that with people, but for those that don't want to do that, and I've chose years ago I didn't want to do that, and I continue to be brave and vulnerable. So all my ethos and my channel was about you being an individual, not trying to be me or someone you see on the internet. There's no better person you want to be than yourself. But obviously, yeah, it takes a lot of courage and work to get to this point. But I will say it, if it was easy, it wouldn't be valuable. So it's mind over matter. Another bit of advice I want to give, sometimes it's so easy. I'm not contradicting what I'm saying, but I'm saying, you know, facing social fears and being vulnerable and open with people, it ain't always hard. You know, the same way some days you wake up, you feel in a great mood. It's easy to talk to people. Other days it feels so difficult and uncomfortable. So also you got to also be mindful of how you feel. How can I get myself in a positive mood so that I'm already in a good mood when I go and speak to someone that I like and start a conversation with? And like you said, the first 10 seconds are the hardest for you. Hardest for all of us. The start is the hardest bit. The hardest bit of the public talk is the start. The hardest bit of going to a job interview is always the first few seconds, because that's where fight or flight kicks in. That's where we're triggered. But once we can work through that, it never usually feels as hard as it does the first 10 seconds. So you've only got to face 10 seconds of emotional hell, torture or fear. Some people would even argue to change the language and say excitement. I haven't got a problem with that. I just want to be really honest and speak on the same level that people are reaching out and asking me for help. Yeah, it's uncomfortable the first 10 seconds. To be honest and open with people, not in all my videos, but a lot of my videos, the first 10 seconds I start speaking on the camera is uncomfortable inside for me. But because of my experience and confidence, I'm able to work through that first 10 seconds, get into my being myself, feeling confident, and then being able to speak. I don't shut up once I get warmed up. So you've got to get warmed up socially as well, for a woman to see your personality and for both of you to get warmed up. It's a two-way relationship. So if you follow this advice, you can't go wrong. Your relationships will improve right across the board. And this advice, I will make it clear, it's not only for men. This advice is for men and women. A lot of women have emailed me over the years with anxiety, shyness, for anyone actually. But so great question. It raised a great conversation. So let's all practice that. Let's go away today. I'm going to practice it. Let's practice facing the first 10 seconds of that social fear when we start a conversation. And I give everyone an exercise. Try it. Whatever social situation you're in, it doesn't have to always be the opposite sex. The shopkeeper or anyone, be social. Practice the first 10 seconds starting a conversation with someone and being genuine and positive and working through that fear, those feelings. And you're going to feel so much better about yourself for going through it. So it's basically learning to work through discomfort, anxiety, adrenaline, fight or flight, nervousness, fear, awkwardness. They're all in that same box or category or umbrella. But if you keep practicing it, it does get easier. You will get comfortable and more confident and stronger and more courageous, and you'll be able to be more authentic the more you practice in these fearful social situations. So I hope that helps. Last tip I'd give you as well, in regards to worrying about what to say, I always think the best thing in any social situation, I always use this. If I don't know what to say to someone, I will always ask them a question. That is not a routine, that's not a technique, that's just being genuine, being curious. And any question can be asked in a social situation depending on the question you want to ask. So I can't give you the exact question because it needs to come from you in that moment, but I can give you some examples of things that I've said that have been right in that moment. I usually ask a person where they've grown up. because I'm interested where they're from, what they do, what their hobbies are. I might ask them a question about current affairs, things that are going on right now. It's just common sense, social skills. So when you get over the 10 seconds of fear of being honest and starting a conversation or giving a compliment, ask a question, and then the person will usually respond. It's not true. Obviously, you don't want to, job interview, you don't ask 20 questions in a row. That can overwhelm people. But there's nothing wrong with asking 1 or 2 questions. Usually, you don't need 1 or 2 questions to get people talking. People generally like talking about themselves. You can ask someone what it is that you're doing, what are you passionate about, where did you grow up, where are you living now, and people will say, I'm studying, or I'm working, or I'm doing a project, or I'm going to the gym, or I'm eating healthy. It's common sense, but I think, of course, it's the courage inside. It's to become fearless. So for men and women, to speak to each other, honesty, become fearless, and work through that first 10 seconds or so of anxiety to get comfortable, and then you can build these honest, great connections and relationships. I'll see you soon.